Dr. Chester Wilson.
Chester Wilson.
Great day, family and friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dr. Wilson Speaks. So glad to be back with you all. I hope that everyone is doing well, considering the pending storm that is headed our way. I'm praying that everyone is safe and that we take all precautionary measures to ensure everyone's safety. Well, tonight we have a topic that is not unfamiliar to a lot of people. We are going to be talking about how we will, the topic of this is, does it take a man to teach a boy how to be a man? And we could know that there are so many varied opinions about this type of topic. So tonight we want to hear from you. So please like and share this broadcast with your family and your friends and become a part of this conversation, because we don't want it to be just about the people who are on the panel, but I want to take comments from you, the viewers, about this topic. So does it take a man to teach a boy how to be a man? So we're going to welcome in all of our guest panelists at this time so that I can do introductions with them tonight. So I'm excited to have some of my friends here with me tonight. We have Dr. Latrice Flint. Dr. Latrice Flint is a criminologist who I've kidnapped to come and work with me at Outreach Community Care Network, and she has been just been a blessing to work with me and help me through some of the storms that we weather. I oftentimes joke about the fact that I gave Dr. Flint some keys and told her, come on, find me. She had no idea about what we were doing, but she did just show up. So Dr. Flint, go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers.
You actually already did that. Good evening. You see my dog is in the background. She's like a cat. Once I turn the video on, she comes on. I don't understand this. But good evening, everybody. Oh, our kill finally made it. Good evening, everybody.
So thank you for being here, Dr. Flint. My homeboy, my friend from the hood, from around the way. The person that I just called and said, you know what, I'm signing up for this doctorate degree program. Come on, go with me. And he had no better sense but to show up the next morning and go with me to orientation.
Oh man, so, I got stuff.
That's the definition of a ride or die. You don't go a day by yourself, and you don't show up by yourself for a doctorate degree. So my friend, my brother, Dr. Rod King, introduce yourself, my brother.
Hey, my brother, it's a pleasure to be here and to be sharing with this awesome group that you have on tonight. I appreciate the invite again. My brother from Palaca, Florida, walked some of the strange streets, walked some of the same hallways, so it's been a blessing. Just I know we get a chance to see each other's growth and development. So it's just it's awesome for me to be able to participate on tonight.
My friend, my brother, and the only man who can talk trash to me, who I shared an office with, and that was some of the hardest years of my life. We've had the opportunity to teach together, and I tell you, some people, they just become your friend, and Dr. Stark is one of those friends. So welcome, Dr. Arkeel Stark, my friend, my dean of students. Welcome yourself, Dr. Stark.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Arkeel Stark. Those are some of the best years of your life, I tell you that, sir. All right. That friendship grew. It blossomed out of a great opportunity for us. You know what I'm saying? I met Latrice when I was at Florida State. We shared classes together, not knowing each other, but then who knew that years later, she would be sitting on the committee that hired me. And I was like, that girl. That's the one who was in my class who kept talking. I can't stand her. I can't come working for her, but it came out to be the best decision in my life. And then coming in my second year at Bethune-Cookman, they said, you have to share an office. You have to share an office with this guy named Dr. Chester Wilson. And I said, Oh my goodness. So we're in this class, well, we're in this office and we're sharing it back to back. We're in the office and we're seeing students consistently. And then I just keep hearing him pacifying these students. And I just like, oh my Lord, I just can't believe this. We got to hold them accountable. We got to hold them standard. We got to hold something here. But what you cannot do is keep pacifying these students. You know, my brother in Christ, my best friend, Chester Wilson, I told you he turned me over to a new league. All right. Along with Latrice and Chester, I can say this. I would not be the man who I am today without them in my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Man,
That's awesome.
look, that Dr. Stark, and he is right, because I tell the students, you know, your paper is really not that bad. Go back and make these. Look here, Dr. Stark. Man, that's trash. That's trash. So those were some times. I miss those days. I really miss them. So, guys,
you know, who would have thought that bond would last this long? I mean,
I know, you know, and
that was 2012 and no, 2011. All right, 2011. It's 2022, and we're still friends. We still on the group chat. We still communicate and talk with each other, hang out with each other like it was yesterday. You know, even though I haven't worked at Bethune-Cookman. You guys moved on to bigger and better pastures yourself. And it's been over 6 years, but we still maintain this friendship. That says a lot.
Yes. I tell you, the next link up is going to be something serious. So we'll leave it there. So listen, we have a hot topic here tonight that's bound to probably get some of us in trouble, especially Dr. Flint.
What happened?
Hey, Dr. Stark, I'm gonna save you because Dr. Tanya Williams got sick and could not be here.
Oh,
You know she was coming for you. So you got saved a little bit tonight. So check this out. We're gonna talk about this topic. Does it take a man to teach a boy how to be a man? So let me preface this. Let me start off by saying we live in 2021, where it is no secret that the divorce rate is at an all-time high. And I believe last time I checked the stats, we were at like 49%. So on top of a divorce rate being at 49%, and with it being at 49%, men are largely not in the home. And it's taking women to raise our young boys into manhood, because a lot of fathers are absent. And because three of us have taught criminal justice, we know where most of our men are, especially a lot of our Black men. They're in the institution. So one of the things that we often find is that the father is missing from the home. And that's forcing mothers to have to step up and raise boys. So I want to say the question is not, can a mother raise the child? More so, we're talking about the impact, because someone is missing. But also, you know, we have that conversation that goes out there. I could raise this boy. I've done it just fine. You know, I could raise a man. I had a father. I had brothers, and you know how that goes. So all of the verbiage comes out of what they can do to raise a man, raise this boy to be a man. And so the question becomes is, we're doing this, but are we effective in doing this? And what are the implications that come as a result of this? And so let me open it up so none of y'all get in trouble. I do believe, you know, I firmly believe that it takes a man to teach a boy to be a man. Already. She didn't even let me explain myself. She didn't.
I did it for the people that are watching, because they're doing that right now. So these for the people, ladies, this for y'all. Right.
So my thing is, I know that women are doing it. In fact, you know, my mom largely did it herself towards the end of my childhood, going into adulthood. You know, dad became absent in the home as a result of that. So I know that a woman can raise them. But there were so many issues that became prevalent to me that where I needed a man and I needed his direction. And, you know, oftentimes I tell people this. A lot of people think they know what's good and what's best for you, but I'm a man. I'm a Black man. And for me, it takes a man to teach me some of those things. And I know as a hard-headed child, there's some things I would run over mama about. And it takes, it took dad to pop me upside the head or to threaten my life for me to get back in line. So I don't take away and say a woman cannot raise a boy. I'm saying that, when we come to the effectiveness, I believe that both the mother and the father have a role in the child's life, and they're both needed. So with that, pop off.
So since I guess I'll jump in first, and so I can go ahead and get some rocks or some stones thrown at me. But I would say I think it's balance. It takes both. It takes both. There's so many things that a mother teaches a son, and so many things that a father teaches a son. And being someone who, in your situation, same situation you're in, for a large portion of my life, basically, I was raised by a mother, and my mother did the best she could. I tell people she ruled with a strong right hook.
Yeah,
I mean, she had boys, so she had to make sure that we stayed straight. But at the same time, there was still something that was missing that I found in my little league coaches. I found in my high school coaches, and then I found in my stepdad. There was some things that were missing that only a man could give me. Takes nothing away from my mother. She did an awesome job. But the one thing, and what she taught me as a man, she taught me how to treat a woman. As a man, she taught me how to love my daughters. As a man, and respect women. There were so many. As a man, she taught me how to cook. As a man, she taught me how to clean. As a man, you know what I'm saying? But then there are some things that you need that father for. And even when it comes to bring balance in the home, that father brings that element of discipline. That father brings that element of accountability. That father brings that element of respect. It just brings. So you need that. For me, it's all about balance, and you need that balance in order to turn a boy into a man.
That was deep. but the reality is, because I can remember hearing my mom threaten me all day long. And as a little boy, we tried, as you said, for you, Doc King, your mom had that right hook. Your mom beat anybody too. She'll square off with anybody. Is that they ain't play that, And my mama was one of those people that if DCF did the things they did, she probably would be under the jail for knocking us out. But I remember her telling me straight up, before they come and pick you up and take you to jail, I'm gonna take you out. But it was only so much she can do, because when Daddy came home, it was a difference. It was a real difference. But go ahead and jump in, Doc Stark.
Well, I'm a single father of one, right? And so I could tell you this.
Just one?
Just one that I know of. All right. I will agree with Dr. King, and what he says is that it is a balance. All right. And sometimes I often feel like I can teach my son how to be a man, but I can't teach him how to be what that experience of a woman's love like from a mother. I can't teach that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, when my son first came to me and he was living with me, when my son first came to me and living with me, it was a learning curve for him. I know women think that men are simple. We just wake up in the morning and we just pick our nose and then go about our day. But it's just the simple hygienes. It wasn't there, so I had to teach him how to appropriately clean himself, make sure all the parts and what it looks like and how it works and how it functions and stuff. And don't get me wrong, women do a wonderful job being a single mother, but they don't know what it's like to live as a man and be a man. So it's kind of hard to teach them how to be a man when it comes to simple aspects such as that. I mean, I didn't rule with an iron hand, but at the same time, I gave him that tough love. Who's there to give him that sympathetic shoulder to lean on when he needed it? All right. Or to talk about things that he needed. He could come to me about certain things when he talk about women or how to hang out with his homeboys and stuff. But when it came to that passionate side, that love side, often I neglected that ability to give to him. So if I feel there's areas that I neglected him in, I feel like a woman who's raising a son have that same deficiency as I do. Okay.
Bam.
Mm.
Right. So
Damn.
there's some things you just can't teach. Then you got to also understand that, unfortunately, there's a lot of women who are raising these kids alone. All right. But they're setting them up for failure in their future relationships when they're holding them to be the king of the household or the man of the household. No, that's
Baby boy. That's that baby boy syndrome.
correct. So when they grow up, they idolize their mother more so than the woman that they're with, which can cause problems in their household. All right. No, most women don't want a mama's boy, don't want somebody who they want someone who to take care of them, be their protector, their provider, or just be the support factor. I'm not going to go in and say that the father has to be the disciplinarian in the house, but he has to be present.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever that presence look like, whether it's the help, get your son out of trouble for leaving the Legos in the middle of the floor, or is to tell him, you know what, son, this is how you run that play. Because I'm satisfied there's not too many women that knows how to tell a son how to block a person when they're playing football. They're out there, that's my baby. But at the same time, like, look, son, you got to get on all fours. You gotta line up. You got to hit them just like this. All right. So, but it's just those nuances. I'm not saying that being a provider, a person, a source of stability. It's just those nuances that, like I said, if I'm man enough to admit that I cannot provide all the features that he needs, a woman have to feel the same way.
Okay, woman.
Well, I agree with Dr. Stark on the fact that I've tried to teach him how to raise his son for years. Like, Dr. Stark let this child go out by himself, and I just be fussing with him.
She threw you on the bus, dog.
Wow.
I'm like, you ain't gonna follow him?
I mean, he was a latchkey kid. I was a latchkey kid. I had to learn the hard way, So it's like, hey, you had to come home and put that piece in the oven. But what you can say now, my son knows how to cook. He knows how to clean. He knows how to take care of himself. All right. And I'm always fearful because my son is the only child. He may not have brothers and sisters to rely on. So therefore, he has to be self-sufficient. So sometimes I give him too much of the tough love where he needs someone to have to soften him out, to make him a well-rounded man.
That's where I think I fail at, because as you say, in most cases, the men are the disciplinarian. And there's been those situations, even in my house today, where, it comes to a boil where my son or my daughter does something and my wife, she's like, you need to handle it. Yeah. And so as a result, we're oftentimes put into those roles where we need to handle those type of situations. And that becomes how we do stuff. But, the reality is, if you think about this on the flip side, if it was me as a single father with a daughter, I probably will feel ill-equipped to be able to raise her. There are things that I can teach her about what the pitfalls are to watch out for a man and how to, conduct yourself, the likes and dislikes around being a man. But when it comes to adequately preparing her for womanhood, there are going to be some key elements that are missing. Now, just like you said, Dr. King, can I raise her? Yes. But I think to have that well balanced, it's going to be needed, because here's the truth. There's a lot of things that I don't like, a lot of foods that I don't normally eat. If it was left to me, my kids would not know what those things are because of the compassion of a woman, the compassion of a mother's ability to explore things beyond what we like and what we don't like. My kids have been afforded that opportunity. But it wouldn't have happened in any other given case, because I would only be buying or doing what I like to do. Yeah. So I think in this case that, even if the roles were flipped, there still would be something that's lacking. I wouldn't be able to teach her fully. And that's the way that I feel for a little boy, now being a man, and I shared this actually yesterday. When I posted a Dr. Wilson Speaks moment about my dad passing away. My dad passed away when I was 20, and I was considered to be an adult man at that point. But going into adulthood as a man, and I was due to be married 2 weeks later after my dad passed away. So as you can imagine, Dr. King, you've been there. you looking for some type of support, male support, like, son, it's gonna be okay. Here's what you do. Now, luckily for me, my father-in-law stood in the gap. But there was a lot of things that I still needed to learn from a man, even though my mom was still there. And let's face it, there's a lot of things as a man that I'm never going to go say to my mom, because I don't know. It's not that she can't.
That's
but
Well, for me, I have a 14-year-old. So when I decided, 'cause I'm a planner. I know I plan like in 13 days it's gonna happen, in 9 months it's gonna happen, and so forth. I didn't plan. What I didn't plan was for a divorce. That really wasn't, I looked at the schedule, that really wasn't it. But it happens.
it happened.
I'm not saying that my son does not have a dad, because he does. He just doesn't live in the home. And so I know my capabilities and what I can do. Now, I can be the biggest tomboyish in the world. If you want to play football, I play it for a little while and so forth from there, but I can't be that. So what I did, because I'm still 25, and so I knew that eventually I would have to go back out there on the dating game. So my thing was, I'm no longer looking just for a man. I'm looking for a stepdad.
That's yeah.
So you went on here to put it in perspective.
Like, if you don't have no kids and you don't like kids, the answer was no. Like, I don't care who you are.
So wait a minute. I have to interject this. Dr. Stark, she's looking for a stepdad, but this is the same one who was trying to interfere on your relationship on I-4.
In my defense, I thought that was his cousin.
So you think about this. Dr. Flynn is saying for her to move forward right now, she would have to be intentional of looking for somebody who would play that role in a child's life. But think about it this way. How many women get into a relationship and won't let the man who's now in the home parent the child? That becomes an issue.
Or they're in the home and allow the man in the house to parent the child, and then they're no longer dating the child. So what had happened when the child has another father who's absent, become absent in their life? All right.
Yes.
So it's a repetitive cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
It tends to make the individual bitter, because on so many instances, there's a lot of things that are said and done. I have all girls, and there's a lot of things that are said. There are a lot of things that will be done, because I'm not a big social media. I post a lot of positive stuff, and when it comes to my family, I've never been one. My wife will put stuff out like that, but I've never been one. She'll tag me in different things like that. But when you're dealing with certain types of situations, you just got to be mindful, because so many times things are said, things are did, and then it's like you're getting that side of it. It's like, too, that father has to have that chance to be a father, and give him that chance. And after having that chance to be a father, I guess for me, I'm a little different too. So it's like, okay, now you're grown. Okay, now it's time for me to teach you how to be an adult. That's different. Preparing you for taking you to manhood is different than raising you up as a boy, because responsibility and accountability come with that. So I think a lot of times that's the thing. When you have certain situations where a person is in and out, you don't see that accountability. You don't see that responsibility. So in essence, unknowingly, I'm teaching you that this is all right. I'm teaching you that this is good behavior, and it becomes learned behavior, which can become destructive behavior down the line.
You're right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I like those particular standards, because I told my son something similar. I say, son, this is your senior year. You got 1 year and a wake up. Okay. So for you got 3 options at the end of that 1 year.
That's how we do.
All right. You got 3 options. Option number 1, you can go to any state school in the state of Florida. I'll pay for it. I'll help you get through. All you have to do is just show up and graduate. That's it. All right. Option number 2, you got to pick one of this man military.
Yep.
Based off your habits. All right. I suggest the Air Force. Okay, because you won't make it in the Marines, and you won't make it in the Army. Okay, so, and I don't know how you feel about boats. Other than that, you better pick the Air Force. Okay. Third option is, if the school thing is not for you and you ain't fighting in this man military, you got to get out and figure it out for yourself. And a lot of women will look at that as like, you're very harsh. That's really tough. And he needs someone to be on the backside and say, you know what? I know what your dad said, but at the same time, when you need me, call me.
Call me.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So now I'm being stern with him, but at the same time, I'm teaching him how to be more independent, all right? And also be more responsible of his choices. I mean, those are 3 solid choices. I'm not asking you to go out there and do anything that I haven't done myself. Okay. So, and if you can't get down with those particular choices, you can't stay in my household. I'm not raising you to be a dependent. I need somebody to depend on when I need to be a dependent.
And I think you said that's
my brother right there. That's my brother from another mother.
But I think you said something that's important. Most times, especially when it comes to a man, we're going to push our sons out there and they're going to have to swim. But the thing that we do is we're standing back from afar watching. We're never going to let you drown.
That's correct.
But we are going to teach you those lessons that are valuable. Because I always say this about myself. At the moment that God gets ready to call me home and I got to lay down and die, it's only one thing that I really want to know. Can my children take care of themselves when I'm gone? That's important for me. And for me, I know that one day my son is going to be a husband to some woman. And when he becomes a husband, I need to know that he knows how to take care of a family and that there's no ambiguity about what his role is and what he's supposed to do in taking care of that family. Because when all else fails and things are not working out, when that wife and that child looks to him, he's going to have to figure it out. There's no one that's going to be there to tell him. So these are essential rules. So for that reason, as a man, I can't baby him. That's not in the cards because there are some life lessons that he's going to have to learn in order to be able to weather when things don't go right and the family is looking at him to come up with a solution when he feels there is no solution. That's the thought.
I agree. So we're all on the same accord. So these 3 males and there's 1 female on this particular call. We all have the same opinion. Sometimes I got to question Latrice because sometimes she's more tougher than me. You know what I mean? But at the same time, she likes to play devil's advocate a lot. So
that's what I was thinking. I'm sitting here after you were talking about that standing up, as you were stating, standing afar off, and you were saying I gave them 3 options. My mom gave me those 3 options. Those 3 options, and my stepdad said, I agree with your mom. You got, and you have to figure it out. I really, because I hear the mom, or most moms maybe saying, not my baby ain't got to go nowhere.
My baby
make
pork chops.
But what does that breed, King? Does that not breed a sorry man?
Yes, it does.
Wait a minute. My baby just burned a whole pork chop. I just told him to take it out of the pan. It's still in there. That's not true. I've never seen such. He got to stay another 10 more years till we figure this one out.
Start them off with hot dogs. Start them off boiled hot dogs. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Who wants to raise a soggy man? And sometimes what some women don't understand is when you coddle that boy, what it's breeding. And it may look innocent at first because you say, oh, he just a boy. He just don't know. But having been a boy, and now that I'm a man, I can tell you what that's going to breed.
Yep.
And I'll tell you one of the things that really bothers me is because I've been a boy and now I'm a man. I hate for somebody to come in who's the opposite sex to come and tell me what it's like to go through this life. I'm like, how are you gonna tell me what I'm thinking? Yeah. How are you gonna tell me about being a man? In my diversity class, I always talk about I'm a black man. I've never been a white man. I've never been a white woman. I've never been a black woman. Even though I have a mother and I have sisters, I still can't tell you what it's like to be a black woman. Yep. And as a black man, there are some unique experiences that my son needs to learn from me. He needs to hear from me and he needs me to guide him.
Well,
Exactly.
I'm afraid of the black men that are raising kids, but they just as sorry and raising their kids just as sorry as them. I don't. They're what happens in that incident?
You know, and that's and Dr. Flint, that's a very good point. I had an opportunity to be at a football game this past weekend, a high school football game, and the young man, he walks off the field, he's quitting. And I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming it's the father who is upset because saying that the coach said something slick to his son, and that's why he's quitting. You can't say nothing slick to him or he gonna get mad and quit.
What?
And in my mind, I'm thinking, and you're okay with that? Do you understand the world that your son is getting ready to live in? And if nobody can say something to when you can't say anything to an individual, that's a detrimental individual. That's a combative individual. That's a destructive individual. And anything that they're connected to usually brings hurt, harm, or danger.
Mm-hmm.
And parents don't understand that. They're trying to figure out how did my kid get here? It's because you were okay with that type of behavior as a child. It's not all right for them to talk back to you. It's not all right for them to disrespect you. It's not all right for them to cuss you. It's not all right. If you don't deal with it and then you're sending them to the world, what you expect? And I tell my kids, I'm not putting your face on a t-shirt for you doing something dumb and disrespectful.
Mm. Yep.
I'm not doing that. So
that's a thing that's a good point that you make. When we start incorporating sports into raising a kid, it breeds a bad generation as well. You know, a lot of these kids, they're coddled when they play well. All right, and because they're coddled when they play well, what happens when they get to a level that you're not going to be coddled or you get injured and stuff? For many years, my son, he plays sports, he plays football, whatever the case may be, and he kept saying to me, you know, Dad, I'm not getting looked at, I'm not getting, you know, recruited, I'm not being, you know, scouted. No one's going to offer me a scholarship. What I'm going to do? And I had to explain to him. I say, son, you live in somebody else's dream, all right? You live in somebody else's out.
Wow.
Right? As our community, we could do much better than just being an athlete, a rapper, or a dope dealer. All right. So with that being said, you live in somebody else's dream. That's not yours. All right.
Now, see, for females, we try to fix it. So I would have went to the coach and said, "Hi, my son says you're not looking at him."
Ooh, that gotta raise my hand.
We fit.
Go ahead, King. Dr. Flint, you walk right into it because I'm telling you, that is the difference between now and then. Again, my mom in the picture. My coach is going off on me. Now, at the time, my high school head coach, he didn't play cursing the kid out, but we had coaches who cursed, and they would get us on the side. And my mom said to me, "What did you do? That coach was yelling at you." Like, she didn't hear what he was saying, but she wanted to know what I did. You better listen to your coach. You better do what your coach says. It wasn't when I remember when I started coaching high school football, parents would come and they want to talk to, well, why isn't my child playing? You playing such and such, and you ain't like, hold on. This isn't Pop Warner. This isn't Little League. It's about winning. If we don't win, I get fired. We gotta win. I gotta put out there who I feel is the best player who gonna get the job done. You know.
Yeah, we try to see, mothers try to fix. We never want to see our child suffer at all. So I would have been like, so I know he's not the best, but you know.
Dr. Flint though, is that? But do you think that is? I won't say okay, always okay.
No, but the thing is with us, and I'm gonna see if anybody else. With us, we don't like to see hurt. You know, we don't like to see our kids crying. So we automatically jump into fix it role. You know,
but see, and that's a stark difference from a father, because we're gonna say, "Boy, tough it up and get back out there."
Exactly.
It becomes a part of it. But here's what Miss Tony said. Miss Tony said she did that same thing and it almost ruined it for her son. She said her
Mhm.
husband had to fix it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. My dad had to fix it. My son was playing. We didn't do football. We did the flag football, and he had failed one time, and he held his arm for the half the game. And I was like, "Look at him." My dad came and said, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "He failed." He's like, "Well, put your damn arm."
You know, I told my son to rub some dirt on it and get back out there.
Me and my mother was like, "Oh my God, get the ambulance! Why they keep playing them?" So if it was at that point, that's when I knew, okay, let me go find me a stepdad because this not working. It's not working.
Well, Latrice is the type of person will go to the coach and complain that her son ain't playing, but then complain that her son got hurt.
Oh Lord.
I'm down. Why you made him get hurt? You saw that play was bad from the beginning. You should have never made that play.
That's what you hear in the crowd. That's just what you hear in the crowd.
But see, that's different from a father. So everybody, a lot of people saw this viral video that went out. And there was this viral video where this mother was taking the side of her son over her husband. Her son was now 29 years old and he was living in the home. And
Right, see this one.
And he wouldn't help clean up or do chores and all of this type of stuff that it takes for maintenance for a home. And so an argument ensued. And when the argument ensued, the mother took the side of her adult son against her husband. In fact, it went as far as the mother to say, "You could get out."
You could get out.
To her husband.
Yeah, he ain't going nowhere. Yeah.
Now, the petty side of me, because I share the office with Dr. Stark, and he is the petty king. The petty side of me would have moved out, would have had the lights turned off, the car insurance taken, and I would have reported the car stolen. I would have flattened 3 tires, because if you flatten 4, you could get insurance. So I wasn't gonna give him that 4th one.
Yeah.
So I would have did a whole lot of petty stuff, to get back. See, God ain't through with me yet, King. He ain't through with me yet.
No, see,
stretch your hand this way.
You see what he did? He flattened tires. What I would have did is took the battery out the key fob, and they would have wondered why it ain't working. See, I do little annoyance, okay? Things that it. So when I'm back in good graces or she back in good graces with me, I can fix. Okay, I ain't doing something that's gonna cost me, all right, $400 to $500 to get a new set of tires. Okay,
This is well thought out.
all I gotta do is put the battery back in the fob and say, "Look, see, that's why you need a man in your life. Make it work."
Oh Lord.
So I was setting my own self up. I'm sorry, but see, that's where self get in the way, because you're upset because you chose this little boy over me. But the reality is that this happens in a lot of situations where parents really do choose kids over their spouse. And so, a dad would come in, and let me speak that there are those outliers out there. But for most husbands, we would come in and we would tell them kids, "Listen, go sit down and play somewhere, because if anybody got to go, you got to go. You're not about to mess up home." Mm-hmm. And that's where I feel that our role comes in, because we set that order in the house. I told my son this one time when he said, we're gonna be gone for the summer. What are you and mom gonna do? And I said, "Do you realize that me and your mama was here long before you got here? You just got on the scene. So you haven't always been here. And you got to leave one day." Yep. So a lot of times, just like in this viral video, we oftentimes see mothers taking the side of their adult child over their child.
I didn't see the video, but I do have a question. Was he the stepfather or the biological father?
He was a stepfather, I believe.
See, that's where the rules of the game is a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Mother's gonna side with their kid, especially when the other parent is not the biological parent. Right, you know what I mean? Right. So if it was his biological father, she said, "Well, you can get out," then that's a hard sell for me. All right. But then if it's somebody you were in a relationship with who who may or may not been there for the early years of this child upbringing and whatever the case would be. There's a sense of ownership. There's a sense of a connection, a mother-son connection that transcends the current relationship, regardless if that person is a husband or a long-term boyfriend. Okay, so often I can see if the regardless of the kid 29 should be out on his own figuring out stuff, but you got to understand with these prices, this economy, with gas prices out there. All right, it's kind of hard to be out on your own. Okay,
but you know.
Right. So now I always told my son, like, you know what? I'm not saying when I put you out, where you go to college and graduate, or you go to the military or whatever the case may be, I'm not saying you always going to be out of my house. I'm giving you the opportunity to gain some form of independence. All right. I know once you graduate from college, the likelihood of you coming back home until you map out what's the next step is a reality. All right. So I'm not saying I'm kicking you out of the house. I'm saying I'm giving you opportunity to figure out what that reality looked like. All right. Yeah. And for me, I didn't understand that where you're located and what you're trying to do that dictates and determine your reality. I moved to California and I lived in California, and I was wondering, like, hey, how come none of these people live by themselves? They're all living in these little group hodgepodge homes. Sometimes you have families that have 2-3 generations in the family, all right, in one home. And I thought that was weird. All right. And the reason why it's not weird to them is because economically it's not sound. It's not easy for a person to go out there and be independent in California. Getting a 1-bedroom apartment will cost you $2,000-$3,000, which most people can't afford. Where in the state of Florida, before last year and inflation, we could afford it. Okay. So that's why, being a scrub on your best friend ride. All right. That sounds like a real promising opportunity right now, which before is belittling. You shouldn't be doing that. All right. So I let my son know that, listen, I am here for you. I will support you in all facets, but I'm trying to set you up, like you said, Dr. Wilson, to make sure that you are good the day that I'm not here. Yeah. And if you're not established, all right, take this little life insurance money and make sure that you're good for the rest of your life. You're not going to squander it.
And check this out. Whether we feel like that they are an adult or not at the age of 18, the reality is the world considers them an adult, and they're looking for them to make adult decisions. So while we are placating, saying they're not ready, they're not grown, the world looks at them totally different. And check this out, especially with Dr. Stark and Flint, when y'all had me teach that senior seminar course, y'all forced me to teach it. One of the things that I used to tell them is I'm an advocate for a child leaving home after high school and going away to college. You know why? Because this is me as a father. If you're staying here, now I have to try to look at you differently as an adult and not as a child. And I don't care how long you've been gone, especially think about some of you all who went away to school, graduated, and came back home. Your parents still look at you as though you are a child. The day you walk back in that house, they don't care how long you've been gone. You walk back in that house with your 4-year degree and you like, I'm a college graduate and this how it is. They're like, well, go wash them dishes. That's the reality.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
I'm an adult, all right, and I cuss at my son all the time. And when I walk in the house of my mom's house, cussing, that's not an option, sir.
It's not an option.
It's not an option. And you would think that, I'm independent. I feel like I'm an adult and I'm still learning, all right? But at the same time, it's like, you know what? There's a level of respect. There's a level of, there's rules in this household. When I come home from the visit, I still can't walk in after 12 o'clock.
We're not going to let you grow up. We're not going to let you grow up.
I got a curfew.
and I got to remind you. I got to remind you. First off, I got to remind you that you're my child, but I also got to remind you that you're an adult. And that's why it's important for us to treat them as such, because that's how the world is going to judge and treat them. So, because what happens is you see it too many times. Something happened and the first thing they say is daddy. Something happens, first thing they say is mom, when it's like, because they're looking for you to save them again. They become so accustomed to us saving them. In that situation, I saw that video you were talking about, Dr. Wilson, and the young man, I believe it was 29, and the stepdad was simply just saying, listen, he's at this house. He's doing absolutely nothing. He needs to learn. He got to become a man. Right. He got to start doing something. He got to. So here's the thing. At what age do we say that our children are not going to be held accountable as adults when the world says that they are? When society is going to treat them as such? It's the same way in our legal system, if I'm not mistaken. I'm in nobody's legal system. And when they turn a certain age, you go from being judged as a child to now I'm judging you as an adult. And there's certain things that you do, you're going to be regardless. You're going to be judged overnight as an adult. As a black man, it is what it is. That's the saying, right? It is what it is. Right. The data shows that you're always going to be judged more harshly. Your sentence is always going to be longer, despite. So it's so many different layers that we got to make sure that we're preparing our children and our sons for. So if we allow them to just slide, and even what Dr. Stark said, there's that connection with that mom. But mom, and Dr. Wilson, you know my mama. I was raised different. I was raised different. Yes, I was raised different. When my mom married my stepdad, it was what he said. It was what he said. But I'm going to say this, Doc, and I'm going to give it back to you. I want to say, when my mom went to marry, my oldest brother said, when she talked to us about marriage, my oldest brother said, no, what you need a husband for? What you need to get married for? You got us. And I initially said, yeah, you're right. Now I'm about 15, 16 years old. So at that age, I done started dating, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll just say yeah. So So here it is. It clicked. I turned around and I said to my brother, I say, no. He was like, huh? I say, no. Mom, but that's going to make you happy. Get married. And she looked at me. I say, Mom, we going to be grown and gone. The truth is, me and Snap not here anyway. Right. We going to our girlfriend's house already. We already leaving and being back by curfew. Right. So if that's going to make you happy, do what's going to make you happy. Because you taught us that when we get a certain age, we got to get out and we got to move on with our life. We got to establish our own life. We can't stay here and depend on you to take care of us, because the truth is you can't halfway take care of yourself. You know, so it's those things that, that's why I said my mom was there. I didn't get that. Boy, you better. But at the end of the day, there was still stuff that she couldn't give me. Yeah. I had to get it from a man.
I was going to say that there is no, for I say all women, from maternal instinct, there is no age where we walk away. We don't hold our kids accountable. What you were saying, that there has to be a specific, that child could have been 29 or 49. There is no age for mamas. We always, just like when Dr. King said that he wouldn't have a shirt on with his daughter's name on it if she did something wrong. Mamas would still be there.
Yep, mama would still do that.
She still had that shirt on, knowing that this child has just shot up the entire Walmart.
Mama would still be there. Huh? Yeah. Talk about,
don't get it. That's
my baby a good boy.
My baby ain't never hurt nobody.
But see, and that's where the problem comes, because the question then becomes, and someone else asked this question, which is really what sparked this in my head. They say, if right now, a lot of single mothers are already raising kids. So if they're doing such a great job, then that means these sorry, no good men that you're talking about really don't exist, because every child is good because you raised them. And it's not saying that fathers would do a better job, but I'm with Dr. King. I'm with Dr. Stark. The balance needs to be in the home. It takes two. Even a bird will take their little chitterling and kick them out of the nest. Yep. Even a bird will drop them out of the nest and say, at some point you got to fly. We will hold you. And let me tell you something. Ain't nothing worse than a stingy daddy. Ain't nothing worse, because the dad gonna say, you ain't taking my money and blowing it. You're gonna earn it. Where mama would say, here you go, baby. This my last.
Let me give you a hug and slip some money in their pocket.
My mama has done that. My mama has done that.
So we approach it differently. We look at it differently. And that's why I think that you have to have that. You have to have that balance, because I'm gonna tell you this from me being a boy, and I can tell on myself. If you give us an inch, we're gonna take a mile.
We're gonna take a mile.
And if you let us start disrespecting you, let me tell you something. At the moment we start disrespecting you and you allow it to happen, you will never rein it in again. You'll never rein it in. But see, a dad would say, I brought you in this world, and I really will take you out. I'm not going to let you disrespect me. You know, not all that I had to sacrifice. And when I say this, I'm talking about a dad who was there. You know, it just ain't happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I tell on myself a little bit here, you know, I came to head with my daughter, you know, and I'm like, no. On Molly Road, things gonna be a little bit different. You know, this is how it's going to be. You know, and even through the all I don't understand, this was the position I took, and I stood and say, as for me and my house, this is a dictatorship here. This is not a democracy on Molly Road. It's not. But then
not your phone, not your room.
Yeah.
I told my son every time I say, hey, look, you don't have to understand in order for it to make sense. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, once you get older, you'll understand my position. You understand my fears. You understand my concerns. You understand what the choices that I make. Now, because I was in your position years ago when I looked at my parents, I'm never going to read my kid like that. Yep. Some of the things I took, some things I threw away. But at the same time, I find myself duplicating a lot of things that was taught to me. And when we're talking about single mothers raising kids, sons on their own, or sons on their own, it's still difficult, even if the father is active in their life and not present at home, because you can't address the problem or concern or a fear or a thought right then and there. It's something that has to be internalized until later on, where the kid may not want to talk about it, or the father hasn't been there to see all the nuances and stuff in order to articulate what happened at that particular incident.
I find myself saying, let me call your daddy.
Yeah, because those things that are convenient to you, that's what you want to deal with. You want to bring him close and hold him. Those things that are controversial, now I want the man to come in and deal with it. But when he tried to deal with it, you know, we were being too harsh, sure. But as soon as that kid get out of control, where were you and why didn't you control it? So before we leave, because we only have about 10 minutes, Dr. King, you brought up something about the baby boy syndrome. You got to tell people what that means.
Well, when I think of the baby boy syndrome, you know, for those of you who know the movie, it's movie Baby Boy. And Baby Boy was around. He was just doing his thing, but he was his mama's baby. And the movie starts out with him being still connected to her umbilical cord. She wouldn't let him grow up. She wouldn't let him be a man, you know. And too many times that's what's happening. Our mothers, our sons are still connected to that umbilical cord, and that's showing umbilical. But at the end of the day, that's still on the nipple. We're still, but we won't let them go. We won't let them go. And that's what happens. You raise them. We start raising a man who now goes off, and he's still a kid. He's still acting like a boy, a baby boy. And so he does what? He's treating, the mom starts treating him like he's the man of the house, and he's never displayed or did anything worthy of that title because she's babied him the whole time. So now he gets in a relationship. He wants to be treated as the man in that relationship, but he's only displaying boy type characteristics. And, you know, so you defend it. You keep on defending it. But it took, you know, her getting a man to let him know you still a boy, you know, and until you know how to handle yourself, you remain that. So it's like, we got to stop. And I type that we got to stop giving our kids, and I say kids in general, sons too, participation trophies. I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but we got to stop. We got to let them, we're preparing them for life.
It's okay to lose. It's okay to lose.
There's a lesson.
It's okay to lose.
There is a lesson in the loss. Because you got to understand, as an adult, I'm satisfied everybody on this screen have lost more than they won. Right? And most of us.
The reason why women do that majority of the time is because if we don't fight for our kids, there's not a man out there that would.
I'm sorry.
Now, we say get to the mentoring and all that, but we feel as though we let them go out there, who's going to catch them if they're not there.
Dr. Flint, I'm sorry, Dr. Wilson. I know you get
Go
ready.
ahead, Ken.
Dr. Flint, we don't fight the same.
Right.
We don't fight the same. And I think that's the thing that women have to understand. We don't fight the same. And we're fighting because you don't see me getting and I'm not saying this, but I'm just using this as an example, getting loud, telling them to knuckle up or put them up, or you know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean I'm not fighting. I know I have to be strategic in the way that I fight because I'm dealing with a black man.
Right.
And there's already, because I'm a black man and I'm a pretty big black man, if I come the wrong way, there's a threat. I'm already a threat. This skin makes me a threat. I had to learn that as a kid. It makes me a threat. So I got to fight a different way. And we try to teach our women too to fight a different way, because as a black woman, you already that angry black woman. Yeah. And they're going to call you angry and black.
Yeah. And here's the thing that you add on that. If we don't teach them sometimes to taste your words before you spit them out, we're teaching them to display this anger that will ultimately lead them to a place that they won't be able to get out of. Because once you get wrapped up in that system, and we're all criminal justice teachers, once you get wrapped up in that system, we knows what happens. So just because you don't see me out there going off on the coach, going off on everyone who says something, doesn't mean that I'm not teaching my son a valuable lesson. And what I'm teaching him is to survive.
And this is for people that want to be in the kids' lives. And in criminal justice, when we go to court or we go to the jail or we go to all the different places, well, hell, we go to colleges. Now that we brought, you see mama, grandma, and auntie. And sometimes you want to go, where is there a dad? Like, is there a male anywhere? Even if you see the football, the famous football players and so forth, you see mama, auntie, grandma, and you kind of ask yourself, and it could be that the guy did not want to be involved. It could be that the relationship was so strained between the female and the guy that he'd rather walk off with the whole family than to stay there. I mean, you hear these situations all the time. So for those women, they don't have anybody else, or no longer trust anybody else because they've already been damaged from the father that, because we can go through abortion rights and all this stuff, but I can imagine somebody say, hey, dude, I'm pregnant. And you'd be like, oh yeah, keep it because I'm going to be there. And you'd be like, you sure? And they say, yeah. And then they're gone. So
that's good, Dr. Flint.
And
or the opposite, when they say, I don't need you, and I'm going to have the child without you.
Yeah. And the research that I wonder goes into that is, what role does recidivism play in that father not being present when that child gets out? That's a good question, because we need them there. So, hey, fellas, the conversation, and ladies, I'm sorry. The conversation gets good, but the hour has been spent.
I got my stepdaddy.
I plan on coming back to revisit this topic. This girl said she got a stepdaddy.
Yes.
Hey, we live and some things we can't say.
Oh, Lord.
I was just going to tell a story.
Hey, listen, I want all of y'all out there that's listening to wish Dr. Stark a happy 40-something birthday.
I'm 25 like Latrice, because we went to school together.
So Dr. Stark spent his birthday with us tonight, and this is why I tell you all to get good friends. This is why I tell you all.
I'm September 2, Dr. Stark. I'm September as well.
Listen, I'm at my mother's house bunkering down for this hurricane, so that's.
He's such an adult now. Hey, mama.
Well, I appreciate you spending a part of your birthday with us tonight. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So
you call like I'm running.
We cannot leave without giving you all last words on this topic. What is the takeaway from this when we talk about this? Go ahead, Dr. Flint.
Oh, I was just dancing with Dr. Stark. I can't be the first one. So my takeaway is, once you get into, if always keep the dad involved. If you don't have a dad involved and you decide to get into another relationship, whatever relationship you get into, think of that person possibly being your stepdad. You have to make sure that, there's a relationship, not just with you and the guy, but you, the guy, and the children as well. If he's not going to be willing to tell him to step,
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, and I got me a stepdad. I specifically said, hey, you like children?
Oh, so you went in with your questions.
You got children and you like children.
Oh God. Go ahead, Dr. Stark. What's your last words?
My last words would be this. I think we should focus more on the institution of marriage. All right. And I know divorces is up and stuff, and people getting married for the wrong reasons, but the value in marriage, especially when we're talking about having kids and raising a son, a black male at that, is very important. Now, this is coming from a man who's never been married. All right, but I've been a single father. All right, and I didn't appreciate or understand what it's like to be a single mother until I became a full-time single father. All right. So for that being said, if I had to do it all over again, I'd be damned. It's gonna be me and my wife. We're gonna do this together. All right. So that's why I think I'm gonna leave with this. We need to start exploring the institution of marriage and what it means when it comes to raising kids, and stop getting married for the wrong reasons. You cute, I'm cute. Let's be cute together. Then realize we're not compatible. All right. But I'm a firm believer in the institution of marriage. I'm a firm believer in having an active father in the life. I'm a firm believer that you need both parents in order to raise a child.
Preach, Dr. Stark.
I'm telling you, that was a get the sheep, you know, because he said it all, I'm in with balance, just making sure that we have that balance and making sure, you know, that the woman understands as a man that we do understand, but in our mind it's about preparation, and where in your mind it may be about cuddling or comfort. In our mind, it's about preparation. So it's not that we don't hear, it's not that we don't love, it's not that we don't, it's just we do things different. So I would say, if anything, let's get that understanding so we can make sure that we maintain that balance. And I'm along with Dr. Stark. That marriage, you can't do it you can't, I don't care how much I love my ladies. I don't care how much. I got daughters. And I thought, man, if my wife, something happened to my man, she worked for DCF for several years. I had to try and do hair. I had to try, you know, with just so many, it's certain conversations you try and like, no, you got to wait till your mom get home. You know, I think this brings about a better level of understanding. So we need each other. So that institution of marriage is vitally important.
I'm with you. I told April she could sleep on the edge of the bed until she about to fall out, but we in this together.
He does say that all the time too.
Stuck like Chuck.
What? I didn't sign up to raise these children by
Don't
myself.
sell my sister short like that, all right? Because we
saying.
all know you're not leaving April.
You're right, Dr. Stark. But I think that's the big thing.
I have to give Stark a shout out. Now, Stark has had many women throughout the years, but he's never took them home to that little boy. And I'm very proud.
But I hope the future Miss Stark is not on. I did it.
Wait a minute. If you could have seen all of our faces.
Oh Lord.
I ain't know what. And now you see why me and Latrice always been at odds.
Oh man.
Hey, Stark. I ain't know whether to mute her, to turn her camera off. I ain't know what to do.
Oh, I got technical difficulty because you see how my face froze.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, but I say this. You know, I say it all in joking, but one of the things that I've learned is that it is going to take both parents. I've learned that being in it. But here's what I say, and I say this to Dr. Flynn all the time. Being that she's divorced and her son now has a stepmother, I say for him that's a bonus. And for me, I'd be saying, hold on, I ain't even got to do this by myself anymore. You stepmama,
Christmas coming up, boo. What you got on it?
Yep. That's for real.
But what people need to realize when it comes to it, you know, as most of you all know, I'm a Florida Supreme Court family mediator. And I sit in that room and I see people doing divorces at the courthouse. Each courthouse is doing at least a minimum of 3 to 4 divorces a day.
That's great.
And that's including fighting over child custody issues or time sharing, as we call it. And one of the things that I oftentimes say is, as a parent, when you are raising children, you will get tired at some point. It doesn't mean that you don't like your children, but you wish they would go away at some point. You need a break from them. And this is why I believe that both parents are important, because sometimes children will exhaust you. And then you need to tag team with your spouse to be able to deal with that child. So I think it's important to have both parents there. But oftentimes we see the husband, the father cut out of it, and I can do it by myself. The reality is you can't do it by yourself, because if we can do it by ourselves, our children will be in a better way now. We have our children being suspended from school in 3rd grade, where they're building prisons from them. And now it's even going from what we call it in criminal justice is from the cradle to the prison now. It used to be from the school to the prison. So we have this going on already. Something is telling us what we're doing or the way that we're thinking is not working. So it takes a balanced approach in order to be able to raise these children in this society. Peer pressure is at an all-time high. I mean, it's astronomical. And what they're experiencing today is way beyond what we've even experienced. So, again, it takes both of us to be able to raise this child. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and especially for those that are listening, you can't do it by yourself. And don't stress yourself out trying to do it by yourself, because if you do try to do it by yourself and you get burned out or you miss something, you're going to find yourself picking them up from the jail, or you could very well find yourself standing by the grave. I applaud those where the kids made it, where they say I raised by a single parent and here's where I am today. But as we can see with our prisons, our schools, the dropout rates and all of that, that's not the normal story. And that's indicative of where we are in society. And when we look at that, we need to change it. As I heard somebody say before, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, that's the definition of insanity. We're watching it happen, but yet we're still placating and doing the same things, and we've got to change that. I am thankful for all of you all that tuned in. I'm thankful for these guests. Also, I'm really thankful for my friend Dr. Stark spending his birthday with us. We appreciate you, bro. You know I love you. I ain't got nothing but love for you, my brother. So thank you all. I hope that you all join us for the next episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, Dr. Wilson Speaks. If you have not, it's streaming on all platforms. I talk about some real stuff there, just in terms of where we're going. So I'm looking forward to where our live broadcast and our podcast will take us. We'll see you for next time. Remember, Dr. Wilson Speaks. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. See you all next time.
Stark, you in town?